Checking connection, making sure we're all live. Cool. Looks like we're all set up, getting things rocking and rolling. Good morning to everybody. Got 8:45 Eastern, 7:45 Central. Vernon here representing, on your happy. Um, this is going to be a continuation on what we talked about yesterday. This is about, finding different ways that you can be committed, that you can push past a lot of things, but looking at the reality of what has to get done. There's some things we have got to accept when it comes to doing better in life. There's lots of things that we have to accept, in the positive here, that we just got to look at it from like such a positive perspective, but also from the understanding of what is being asked. And, today, the title was brought to you by a comment that came right up on the live yesterday. It was like, whew, I know, few, it said, few, I know you're right, but it seems like a lot to commit to. It seems like a lot to commit to. This is not to pick on anybody. I cannot stand the fact that I have to say that every time when it comes to kind of expanding and enlightening, but I get it. All right, so few, it seems like a lot to commit to. It is a lot to commit to. But let's dive into what exactly does that, when I hear that, what do I hear? But also maybe some different ways you can approach it as well with, kind of I don't know, more, some more insights to it. It's a lot to commit to. Absolutely, it is. If it is something that you want in this life, it is something that you're after that doesn't, this isn't about, when it comes to owning your happy, it doesn't need to make sense to anybody else but you, number one. So, yes, it's a commitment, but it's also, ooh, you're breaking up. Boom, boom, boom. I got a couple of comments. Am I coming in live and clear for everybody? Someone let me know in a comment, drop a message. All right, I'm just going to rock with this, assuming everything is okay. My internet's looking good. Let me see if it kind of worked itself out. Might be a lot of people right now. Um, but when it comes to saying, oh my gosh, this is what I want, regardless of what everybody else is saying. And good morning to you, by the way, and thank you for letting me know. Did not forget that. But almost did for a second. When it comes to going after what you want, it is important for you to, one, make sure that you want it because it is a commitment. And that commitment is about understanding that for you to get it, and this is what I was talking about, what I've been talking about, this exchange. For you to get it, you are going to have to change. No matter what it is that you are after, you are going to have to make some sort of adjustment, some sort of just exchange. Again, time, resources, something is going to be exchanged to get it is what you want. And it is a commitment. Now, the commitment here is looking at it from, what exactly are you committed to? And this is why it's important to make sure that you want it. You're happy is not dependent on this person's happy, not dependent on this person being happy. It is your happy because when you are committed to it, you need to be in a driver's seat of this. You need to recognize that when those days get difficult, and the days might not even be really difficult, you could be so much celebration because because you've done so well. It could be because you're going to different banks to cash different checks, and that you're only FDIC secured up to a certain amount. These things happen. These things a lot of my clients, but you're going to have some challenges, right? And when you get hit in the mouth with life, so to speak, it is going to be real. You're going to feel like quitting. You're going to feel like giving up. You're going to feel like, why am I doing this? But if it's not what you want, that's when it's going to really show up. And so it is a commitment. And, I think the first thing here, why it is a commitment, why it is a commitment for some people, and it can seem daunting for so many people, is when you say that I want this, it is a path of intention versus of accidental happenstance. When you are saying this is the result that I'm looking for, I'm going to make myself a better person, to make myself a better man, to make myself a better woman, to make myself a better parent, to make myself a better partner, to make myself better, whatever realm you want to be, you need to be intentional. Because if you're not intentional about it, it's going to show up. It could be an accident, then you're going to say it's imposter syndrome, then you're going to say you're not worked for it, whole litany of other things. But for you to go out and get what you want, you need to be committed to it. You need to be focused on it. And these things do take more energy. But the big thing here that shows up, and I've talked to so many different types of people this year alone, this isn't to brag or to impress anybody, but just to impress upon people. The clients that my clients have got, it's a little bit over $450,000 that they have been able to create. 450K does not chump change. by far, almost a $500,000. Why? Because that's what they wanted. And they got those things, but it took some effort. But furthermore, you were not qualified to figure out, in many cases, what exactly you need to work on in life. Take this with a grain of salt. Let me explain. There's some things in your life that you're not getting a result. And your best thinking is going to get you a result that you've already gotten. Your best thinking is going to get you along that path. Many times, what you are focusing on, and you think, oh, I really need to go after this and to do it like this, that might not be what you really need to focus on. It might be what you have done. It might be what you have, gotten to. But that's not really what you need to focus on. When personal story. This is what, the 10th month, 11th month, for myself. Your boy was messed up. Not really messed up, but I wasn't producing what I wanted. I was frustrated. I was annoyed. I was bothered. It was getting to me. It was getting to my energy. It was getting to my motivation. It was getting to my efforts. It was getting to me personally. But once I got to this place of acceptance, like I talked about, and I had to realize this is going to be tough. This is going to be frustrating to some degree. It's going to have some thing that it's going to emotionally get me. But that is part of the path. When I decided I wanted to be a 2 to 3%er in this world, that's a whole nother conversation I'm saving for January, late January, February, that I wanted to be a higher percentage of person who is going to be successful, how I wanted to be. You darn right, I knew it was going to be a commitment. But I'm more committed to making sure, and this is for people who have children who get what I'm talking about. My son is not going to look at me one day and say, Daddy, I want to be able to do some things. And me going to look at him and say, yes, you can be anything. You can be everything, when I haven't even done that myself. When I haven't sat back and said, did I, get tough when the going got tougher? Did I figure out how to become the toughest even when it did get tougher? I'm not going to tell my son that. I'm a huge fan of the saying that we have in our house. I'm going to make my child proud of me. And it's not about living in his dreams. It's about saying that I can't tell him a message that I'm not willing to follow myself. Do not go out there and tell your children, this is my house saying, this is something I live by. I'm not going to look at my child in the eye and then tell him that, hey, you can do anything because I didn't do it. It's really not that complicated. It's frustrating, it's challenging, but once you get it, those 11 months ago when I was working on myself and having those long hours and gritting back on my education and putting myself back out there networking, taking more risks, even starting a broadcast like this, it was hard. I don't even think about it anymore. How many times have you gone after something and thought, oh, this is going to be so daunting, so tough, and once you get through it, once you're in the process of it, it just becomes second nature. And you pick up on these things. But this is why it's so important to really check into the driver's seat and get anchored. What are your children going to say? What are your child going to say? What are your friends and family going to say? That you had a good excuse? When I first started working on, it all started first with me working on my mind. I worked on my mind. I knew I wanted to be better. I got tired of being bullied. What did I do? I worked on my body. I worked on my confidence. It was tough. It was hard. But guess what happens? Where I've decided to take myself, I've already put in that work. So it doesn't even bother me anymore for what is coming ahead. Building that callus up, building the strength up, building myself up to be fortified. That's what this commitment is about when you're working on yourself. That's the commitment about, is when you're going after your dreams. It is difficult. It is challenging. And back to what I'm talking about, and when I'm listening, when I'm more so, anchored in about your best thinking has produced these results. When you first get started out, I used to think, oh my gosh, that I didn't have the pedigree to be successful and, things like that. That's what I was thinking. In reality, I didn't have the right mentality for it. And the mentality was an understanding. You're going to have longer days. You're going to have shorter days. But I knew I wanted to go to bed rested. When I go to bed, then I know I've done everything I needed to do. I've got plans set for tomorrow, regardless of how difficult it is. I go to bed knowing that I have given everything, sweating on my brow, and I'm waking up ready to do it again. Because after 2 or 3 days like that, it stops getting difficult. For anybody else like Adult Swim, BoJack Horseman, I love this phrase. He said, it does get easier, but you have to do it every day. And that was in reference to running. You got to get better at it. And it's not going to get better if you're not practicing. And being committed to something doesn't mean that, I have 2 coaches. Why do you have 2 coaches? Oh my gosh, why does a coach need a coach? Because I like to save time. And something that could take me 1 year, I can get done in 2 to 6 months. I'd rather do that. My time is more valuable to me than anything. But I also know that I'm not qualified to see certain things about myself because, see, I'll give myself a good excuse or a good reason why I don't need to do something. Why maybe my background here, I loved it, and he was like, look, Vernon, this isn't you. You're better than that. Guess what? Made changes. Not saying it feels good. I'm not. But you know what? It's worth it. My commitment to doing better is more important to me than how I feel for a couple of days. For a feel for honestly 20 minutes. My God, well, I guess I actually like this better. Once I started putting this up, in my background, something so simple. But you know what? It's the little things that matter. And a little thing like looking at it of what do I really need to focus on to make this commitment? What is really important to me? Of why I'm making this commitment? Who am I letting down? Who am I building up? And when you look at it from more of a, let me make a tweak here, tweak here, tweak here, it's really not that complicated. But it is a commitment. There's way too many people having these excuses of why they didn't get to what places they didn't get to. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm terrified of telling my son one day, well, insert excuse, but you can do better. Children do not listen to what you say. Believe me. They pay attention to some things when you maybe use a stern voice, but it's ultimately what you do. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm not. Even if I don't get it, you will know that I did my damnedest to show up to go in pursuit of it. That's what matters. It's not always getting, it's the pursuit of. Because along that way of getting it and you've done the things you're supposed to do, talk to a coach, counselor, someone who can help you spot your blind spots, and then you are sat back with a great strategic plan. Like, I mean, honestly, it's not going to always be that you get the goal, but you still learned and life has still let you have taught life that I'm coming after what I want. And if you keep that attitude up again, it's not a commitment. It's just more so a fun time. You just look at it like, oh, it's going to happen. Hey, I might not get it now, but you know what? I learned a lesson. You can't be afraid to make mistakes, and you don't waste time that you are, using it in the pursuit of getting what you want. Think about things like that before we look at the commitment. And if you are thinking about the commitment, just think about this. No matter what, 6 months is going to be 6 months. Whether you got a good excuse, a bad excuse, it's still going to be 6 months. I'm just going to say I'm going to take these 6 months, 6 weeks. Most things don't take that long, by the way. Average time, even with working with my clients, it's 24, 25 days. It doesn't take that long. You think it does. That's because this combined with some low energy, I'll be talking about low energy later, but combined with low energy, it exaggerates things. That's all it does is exaggerates it. So go out there and get what you want. But if you keep looking at the commitment, if you keep looking at what am I losing, you won't ever look at what you're going to gain. It's such a relief to sit there and look my son in the eyes when he wants to do something. I'm like, go get it. Such a big thing when when my son looks at me. Hell, my dad looks at me. And he just sees that, 11 months ago, this was where I was. And they're not paying attention as much as I would. Or maybe they do. And I can honestly say through every pitfall, every trial, tribulation, every tough decision I had to make, this is where I'm at and able to do the things that I'm doing now. It's well worth it. So the commitment, the payoff is it's everything to me. But that's also because I believe in being locked into what it is you want versus just talking about it. Don't talk about it, be about it. And as always, show your work. Can't deny that. Everybody have a good day. I'll see y'all tomorrow. If you got questions, don't be afraid to let me know.